bullshit, but it's about being civil. And this I love. She says, bullshit is the greater enemy of truth than lies. But because lies is, the way she puts it, lies is a reaction to not wanting to be truth. So it's kind of an opposite reaction to truth, i.e. I'm not going to tell the truth. Sure. Whereas bullshit is just in a whole other realm of just making stuff up. And almost to the point of just making up for the sake of it, to control, to manipulate, to maneuver, to avoid, to control. The way she describes it is fantastic.
I've got a classic example of that, I think. If you ignore the politics of this example, and if you ignore the politics of the issue, did you see Jacob Rees-Mogg being interviewed by who's the guy on TV, that obnoxious guy, the interview, Piers Morgan,
right?
And the more aggressive that Piers Morgan got to Jacob Rees-Mogg, the calmer Jacob Rees-Mogg was.
Wow.
He's just got like an amazing ability that under intense, hostile, abusive questioning, he just got calmer and calmer each time, each cycle round. It was just amazing.
Wow.
But like I say, if you ignore the politics of it, I thought that was like an amazing skill, you know.
Wow. Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, great skill. As in, he's bullshitting, avoiding telling the truth. Is that what you meant?
No, just under hostile fire of questioning, just being calmer the more abusive the other person was.
Got you. You know. Got you. Yeah. No, brilliant. Very good skill to have. And what in this chapter was really good for me in my conflict area that I was discussing, and where it says curiosity is seen as weakness and asking questions is antagonism. And it was saying about this whole idea of control, of you're either with us or against us. Sure. You can be nothing else. So complete control. It's like,
black and white,
are you a yes or a no? It's like, well, I'm neither. I'm not going to be controlled by either. So I just found there was a lot of me in that, and I've got a huge amount of curiosity that has been throughout my life shunned a lot by my dad. And I'm not trying to paint a bad picture of him. It's just we two operate from two different worlds, neither good or bad, wrong or right. But I have been made to be put into a box of, what's the matter with you? Why are you a dreamer? Why can't you go get yourself a proper job? You know, why can't you fit into the category? And it's just because I've got this natural curiosity, which I have now chosen to fully embrace. And like I said to you, I love my emotions. Yes, there is I might switch them off, or I might try to become numb to it. But ultimately, my passion toolset is about embracing who you are, whatever type of self-expression it is. And part of my emotions is this want for curiosity, which again, the asking questions. If you're asking questions, then surely you are uneducated, or if you don't know the answers and you're asking questions, you must be stupid, or, you know, why do you not have all the answers? So I say my dad's era is a bit of an era of, you get to a certain age and you're experienced, you're mature, you're successful, and you know all the answers, which is absolute rubbish. So
I should say I'm getting worse on curiosity as I get older. I'm getting more and more curious as I get older. And I have to be careful with my questions, because at work, as I said earlier, I ask questions because I need to understand what the problem is, what the situation is, what's not working in your system. And I can come across as being like an interrogator almost, because I'm on like a relentless quest. But I would also say, have you heard of the phrase or the name multi-potentialite?
No.
It's a bit like a polymath. It's a bit like you're a generalist, not a specialist. And in the world of work, HR people like to put you in boxes, like you're a specialist. So I can do all kinds of things, but I'm actually struggling finding a role that's going to be able to allow me to do all of those. I would also say that I tend to go one click beyond where other people stop, and lots of my learning is because I've gone way off at a tangent. In some people's eyes, I've even been told you're taking the subject off topic, especially on Twitter chats. But that's where lots of my learning happens, and it encourages other people to go themselves, you know.
Well, you're going to love finishing the book Braving the Wilderness, so right up there with you. The next chapter is Hold Hands with Strangers, and then the last chapter is last chapter is Strong Back, Soft Front,
sure.
Wild Heart. Love it, love it, love it. It talks about the vault is what is not ours to share. I just love it. I just love it because I'm one of those big people where if I've got nothing good to say, I won't say anything at all. If someone shares with me, it stays with me.
Sure.
And just this idea of, I feel that there is a big integrity thing of understanding what is not yours to share. And I very clearly see there is quite a lot of information out there that is not mine to share. And I have no right to share that. So I can't think of an example right now, but I just think people need to start distinguishing this.
Well, I've had examples in companies where large numbers of people know who's being made redundant before those people are. And it's because HR people and other people just can't keep the gob shut, basically. And it's like, I can't believe that that's even possible, that people can actually find that information.
Yeah. I think this is where you have to have a lot of forgiveness, because we are human, but it's a discipline that we can all learn to strengthen. There's definitely a muscle that really needs to be worked on in our society, because just the amount of gossiping and stuff, I mean, it literally turns me off. I walk out if there's any gossiping, or if there's threads of stuff that are going past on Facebook. It's just like, bye-bye, scroll. I mean, it's like, I don't want to hear it. It's just like, it's inane. It's ridiculous. So I don't know why I'm like that, but I'm just like that. And I just think it's so important. Yeah. Brene talks a lot about courage over comfort. The challenge is not to use gossiping as the common enemy, intimacy, and oversharing as a way to hotwire connection. Love it. So people in their weakness feel the only way I can get on with you and have a bit of a connection is if I share something about somebody else that we can just bitch about.
Oh, so you mean sharing? You mean sharing about somebody else, not sharing about yourself? You mean?
Correct. Whereas I'd be the other way. I would always share something vulnerable about myself.
Sure.
Because that's how I am.
I'm certainly into that leading by example. That if you're leading a small group, then if you're actually vulnerable, my experience is it encourages others to be.
Yeah.
If you do it appropriately, obviously.
Yeah. And also this leads on to another little thing here, which is just so good, is where she says, and it's about letting go of the helper and fixer as a way to find a source of your own self-worth. I'm a big helper fixer, and I can see it's just feeding the monster. It's feeding the demon inside us of, I need to feel self-worth, so if I help and fix. And I hate these people who go on about, I'm just trying to help, and I want to be recognised as the charitable person, as the do-gooder. And it's like, it's all about you, mate. You just want to make yourself look good, and it's just out of my face. Seriously.
So I've got a question for you as a coach then. I just find it hard not advising. In the sense of, if somebody says what an issue is and I've got an answer, not the answer, but if I've got an answer, I'm more than happy sharing that. But I know that in coaching, my understanding is, and I'm not a coach in terms of formally qualified or anything, you try to get the other person to come to their own conclusion and make their mind up themselves. Where do you stand on that? Because I'm assuming at some point you get asked a direct question and you need to answer the direct question.
Yeah. Maybe. And where I've come to it, honestly, Simon, is I've had to withdraw myself, because you you actually, a lot of the time, people won't appreciate it. Even if you can see an answer, most people have to find the answers themselves to be the only way that they're going to appreciate it. And actually, a lot of the time, the work, they'll only get somewhere if they've got skin in the game. And if you're constantly telling people, feeding them the answers, pushing it on. So a lot of the time, I'll stop doing it now. I'm very much in early coaching career. I was just like a bouncing bunny, like the Energizer bunny, and just wanting to coach everybody, but it won't be valued. No, there's a lot of the time, and I write this in my book as well. A lot of the time, completely forgotten what I was going to say. A lot of the time, people either don't want to know. They don't know what the answer is, even if you ask them a straight question. Usually it's like about 3 or 4 layers below that you need to sort of work on it. And then even if they find something, they don't necessarily want to put the work in to maybe change it. So people are either oblivious or numb or whatever, and it's just really, it's got to be a wanting from the other person. So I've just, and this is partially why I've written it as a product tool set rather than involving me as the person, because it becomes more of a neutral, non-biased resource. And what's so lovely is when I do my weekly Zoom calls with the sort of 15-minute check-in, people will ultimately bring up coaching questions, and I just go back at you. What do you think it like? And I'll actually say to them, which of passion, where do you think you should look? Power, authenticity, saying what you're going to do, so that I don't have to do any of the work. So that's kind of where I've got to, which I think is the most effective way to be as a coach.
In terms of conflict, I once heard somebody say that the issue about conflict is that you don't enter into conflict because you love yourself more than the other person. That if you do enter into conflict and address it or confront it head on, you're opening yourself up to all sorts of hurt yourself. And there's a bit of, I'm sure that in the past I've avoided conflict for that reason, that I love myself, or I love myself in the past that too much to open myself up to hurt effectively, and that's not good, obviously.
No, agreed. And actually it leads me on to the last bit about the chapter finishing off is Brene talks about going a bit more about Maya Angelou, and she says, I'm generous in my assumptions about myself and others, and I am very concerned at how I look at Maya. This is Maya Angelou speaking about herself. Okay. I am very concerned at how I look at Maya. In other words, we are disgustingly horrible to ourselves all of the time, but she's concerned about how she looks at herself. And I just think it's great that she sort of says it that way. One thing, well, can I say a sort of a comment about how I found the book?
Yeah, please do.
So one tangent that it allowed me to draw was Brene, and I feel in some ways I'm almost a couple of steps away from where Brene was at when she was sort of up to when she was writing this book, because she said it's about teaching your kids to learn to live in the wilderness as well. And I feel I've been doing that the last 10 years that I've been bringing the kids up. Sure. And I'm not trying to blow smoke up myself or anything like that. But I taught myself to live in the wilderness and be with myself and be with that. I can't live by other people's standards.
Sure.
But Brene would say her kids would come back with a problem about school, and she'd try to find out how she could get her kids to fit in.
Yeah.
And so that her kids wouldn't get bullied or rejected or whatever. But where I've always very much come from with my kids, especially my daughter being a girl, and friendship circles and girls can get very bitchy, is whenever she's come back with stuff, I've always said, look, do you know what? It's probably for the best of it. And if they can't accept you for who they are, they're not the best friend that can. I've never tried to make my kids fit in. I want them to understand they have their power within themselves, and that it might be a hard lesson, but you'll find the better people that way. And it just to give them that stability, that surety, that confidence in themselves, to trust themselves.
And to be themselves. And to be themselves.
Yeah, and when these people are picking, my daughter's had a couple of incidences in the last